We are live for another Founder Wisdom Pod with Mike Todd here. He's a CEO at Near Life, so it's all about interactive video and VR authoring for everyone. Mike is an entrepreneur and a filmmaker. This podcast is brought to you by podfire.com. If you want to start a podcast, we have a free ebook for you and a masterclass waiting on podfire.com. We help you monetize podcasting through lead gen, sponsoring, and also YouTube AdSense dollars. Mike, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Well, you give me a brief intro. I'm the founder of Near Life. Yeah, we're an immersive content company. Our primary product is a platform that just makes it very simple for people to design and build their own interactive and immersive content. So most of our users tend to be in learning and education, but we also have users in communications, some in marketing. And we've been in this space for coming up to 10 years. We began, or my background is in content creation. I was formerly a filmmaker, heavily involved in kind of the documentary film world, and we kind of gravitated towards interactive filmmaking. We're involved in a few international development projects in that space. And what we do now really evolved from that, and my own kind of personal interest in technology and kind of a game-based approach to things like education and content creation. So that's really where we came from.
And how's the VR thesis paying out so far?
So we began primarily as an interactive video tool, which was, making it simple to create things like branching scenarios, interactive experiences. And we added the VR functionality, I would say now, 3-4 years ago. And we specifically, because VR is quite a broad, kind of a broad area, and people see it in different ways. But for us, we're particularly focused on VR video. So our technology is built around kind of web VR or web XR, mean that you can build and you can share your content easily. And it's an emergent space. I would say maybe 25-30% of our users are in that kind of area. And I would put them as VR first. If someone comes to us talking VR, it tends to be that's what they're looking to do and create. I think there's been, but we see it growing. I definitely we see it growing. And I think there's been, it's been a slow burn, the adoption of VR. And you could place that on a number of issues. One, clearly the hardware, making that accessible, making that affordable, but you've seen new entrants with obviously Apple, and you're seeing kind of Samsung now pushing the kind of ease of access, because you've had a kind of a love-hate relationship with the idea of consuming VR via a smartphone. I mean, Apple virtually have made that not possible. Now Samsung seems to be going the other way. But it works. I mean, we know from the research, for people who use VR content, especially if it's in something like learning, it improves what people, remember. So it is a more immersive experience. So for a number of reasons, it is beneficial. And so I don't think it's going anywhere. It's just to what extent the technology will evolve and the adoption of the headsets, who's going to, how people access it. So it's all emergent, but we specifically have gone, as I say, we kind of web VR, web XR approach, which means that it's easy to offer that in a scalable way, and people can access it through different forms. So you can access it online, the website, or through your phone, or fully with the kind of your web browser on your Quest headset, whatever headset you use. So it does make it scalable. So I think there is opportunity for us. That's where the interesting space is, and making it possible for people to design their own experiences, lower that kind of technical entry.
And what are you excited about nowadays?
So I think the same with everyone. I mean, the big news, the big focus of everyone's attention has been what's happening with AI. And I think it's the same for us. We, as I say, we're kind of rooted in interactive and immersive content. We are very much about bringing kind of game-based principles to content creation, allowing you to gamify things like learning, education, or communication projects. But with AI, what you can do with that becomes much more profound. And our first priority was, okay, if we're going to say we're the easiest way to create and design your interactive content, then we want to be the AI version of that. We want to make sure that You can use kind of AI in terms of your game design. You can use AI in terms of your script. You can use AI in terms of your image generation. So I think we're on the cusp, and you see it. You see it with a number of platforms with what they're doing. We're on the cusp of being able to generate and make accessible high quality AI video, and even AI 360 video. So you have right now with like Skybox AI, you can generate 360 images, and people use that type of media within our tool to make that interactive. But I think once you allow the creation of high quality video and even VR video via AI, then the creator, the person, let's say, using a platform or any platform, becomes very much kind of like a curator or a director who is got access to the kind of the technical ability to create things and build things that just weren't possible previously. So it's I think that's a very interesting space. I mean, you don't want to deny the role and the potential for human creativity, but it really, to me, is more about empowering it and making things easier and lowering that kind of cost barrier, lowering that technical kind of barrier, technical hurdle to making this type of content.
Right. And you've unlocked pretty big clients here. I'm reading it's on your LinkedIn that, yeah, you had pretty big companies here: Norwegian Refugee Council, ASDA, Jill, AbbVie, St. John Ambulance, USAID. So how do you unlock your clients nowadays? What are your GTM efforts to go to market?
So I'd say we're still a scale up. So we kind of punch above our weight in many ways with the clients who use us. Most of our clients come to us and find us because they're looking for something to kind of bridge that gap between what they might want to create conceptually and how technically possible that is, how easy it is to do. So yeah, we have some quite big users. We have like the World Food Programme users, HMRC, the UK's Revenue and Customs Department users, some of the pharmaceutical companies, like you mentioned, AbbVie, they use our platform. I think what we, as I say, offer is making it easy and simple to design interactive and immersive content that otherwise would be quite complicated to create and build. And we really position ourselves in that space. We try and be accessible to everyone, but I would say we lean definitely over the last 12 to 18 months towards like the enterprise solution. We notice a lot more kind of enterprise users coming on board. They've got multiple content creators. I would like to think of us in many ways where we would like to be is in many ways to do for kind of interactive and immersive content what Canva did in terms of design, just making design and graphic design possible for those people who aren't specialists and didn't necessarily have the technical ability or the mastery of the different platforms or and they kind of made that kind of democratized that access to that level of creativity. And I would aspire really for us to be in that type of position where people think of designing interactive, gamified, immersive experiences, that we make that accessible. We make that something that is available to anyone. You don't have to be a specialist. I mean, in learning education, you have some quite skilled, fairly technical people who are instructional designers. Maybe they even know some JavaScript. They might need to code various things, but we're kind of hopefully taking away some of that heavy lifting with our essentially no code platform and just making that creativity more accessible to all.
Right. Canva got billions, hundreds of millions in funding, $1 billion valuations, multiple billions nowadays. So what's your plan to get there? Are you still bootstrapping or are you looking for funding?
So we're in a kind of a scale up phase at the moment. What we had some initial seed money and investment. We've also been lucky enough to generate funding in the UK from the UK's Research and Innovation Council. They have a funding body called Innovate UK. So we've been lucky to do that, to build some of the AI elements we have, some of the VR elements we have. So we're kind of, in terms of our journey, we've had that initial investment, the technology. I would say, thanks to the way we've had this money, the way we've had the grant money, our technology and our platform is much further advanced than we are commercially. So we've got that kind of proof of concept in terms of the users. We've got these, as we've discussed, some kind of real blue chip flagship users. We've got some great case studies. We used all over the world, must be in at least 15 countries, from Mexico to New Zealand, Canada, Nigeria, the Philippines. We've got many users, and as I say, although primarily learning education, different sectors, corporate, universities. So yeah, we're really looking for investment as the next phase to kind of accelerate that kind of scale up and adoption. I think we have where we're at now, I think we've got a clear idea who our main users are. We have a clear idea of what value we add, and we've also got that kind of proof around the adoption. And we've got some kind of very credible users. So we definitely know where Canva are, and I'm just using that as an example to illustrate really that trend. I would suppose that, again, I'd use the phrase, that democratization of creativity, making design more accessible, and we're trying to do that in the interactive and immersive content space.
Right, I'm on the app now. I'm trying it out. The UX itself, it looks a bit like old-fashioned. Like, are you thinking of rebuilding right now the UX and the visual?
Well, I don't know which bit you are on. Ultimately, we are a kind of we're different than Canva. Canva is very much a design tool in terms of the visuals. We are you'd have to be familiar, I suppose, with the learning and education space to see some of the technology out there. Our actual UX is very user friendly compared to the interface is pretty simple, but it's kind of like a drag and drop principle. And the primary aspect, without me demoing it now for you, is the kind of the canvas where you can kind of drag and drop your node-based graphics, and you can add elements in, like you can have AI character driven. So we are more on the technical end, and that again differentiates, but we are a no-code platform. So you can add elements like achievements and conditions to create game-based simulations. So we are, I would have to be honest, we are more a technical tool, but we are definitely more user friendly in terms of design, that interactive and immersive content, than you would see generally, especially in the learning education space.
Right. And your ICP, like, which has been your most successful industry as of now?
So I would say we started out in the space of a kind of humanitarian response. We still have quite a few users in there, like the Norwegian Refugee Council, International Rescue Command, some of the world's biggest NGOs. I mentioned the World Food Programme. We've worked with the World Health Organization. We began in that space around decision-based scenarios and making it easy to create kind of these interactive experiences where you're making choices, making decisions. And that was really kind of use case 101. So we still proved to be popular in that space. And I would say, by extension of that, things like emergency response, ambulance service, police service. So that's because anywhere where they use, which they do in all those areas, a lot of kind of simulation. You could describe us as a simulation tool. That's another way to say. It's not all that people create. People create tools, people create quizzes, people create immersive experiences for entertainment. But if you are using simulation and kind of role play style learning, then it translates very well to that kind of it translates very well to what we offer. So that's a strong use case for us. After that, I would say the other big one which we see recurring is healthcare, for similar reasons, because nursing, a lot of medical learning involves role play style simulation, decision-based experiences, what you would do in a certain situation, what choices you make. And we can kind of, you can create that kind of experience very easily, especially now. We offer the AI generated images as well, integrated. So you could build a very simple interactive, like just images rather than video, but like static images. You could create like a interactive graphic novel type experience very quickly. But people combine us with other tools. Like we're popular with users of Vyond, which is an animation software based out of San Francisco. We're popular with users of Synthesia, which is a big AI video generation platform, because they make it, when I was talking about video before and how much that's improving, those tools already make the design of video very simple and easy, especially Synthesia with the AI, but Vyond has the AI elements now. Vyond traditionally was more kind of 2D animation. So you could cluster all those type of tools together, ours, Vion, Synthesia, Canva. I would say they're all part of the same emergent over the last number of years, emergent creativity tools. You could call them productivity tools that are making content creation, design, creativity, however you want to describe it, easier for people and less kind of specialist.
Right. At the start, you talked about AI and learning. I think that's the way I'm learning the fastest nowadays. I used to be a huge Wikipedia guy. Before that, I was a podcast nerd, book nerd, audiobook nerd. And nowadays, I just chat with an AI to learn very fast, And I guess the people you're targeting could also have a conversation with the AI, call the AI and talk with it. Would you say that combining that with VR would be next level? Is that what you're aiming for?
That's certainly in our roadmap. We have done aspects of R&D around because a lot of our stuff is embedded around decision-based stuff. We've looked at areas around voice recognition where you can make decisions with, and now we have implemented AI character design. So right now that sits in our tool for our enterprise users if they're creating 2D, it's not in the VR yet, but it's in the kind of 2D space where you could create a character. So let's say it was a police scenario and you could create a chatbot character that is let's say it was he's the police chief and you've got to go back to the police chief for particular advice on how to conduct the investigation. And within the design of the character, you can introduce specific information like you would teach an AI, but at a kind of a micro level rather than the macro level for that particular character. So you can, as a learning designer or a content creator, you can already with our tool, you might have an interactive experience. Then you can ask the AI character like they are, a guide or a role play character within your game, and that will be launched in the VR. I'd say before that's in our roadmap. It would be this calendar year, because you basically the way it would work is you've got kind of like your billboard experience within the VR space. So already you could launch a video as a 2D kind of billboard within the VR space. You have text-based slides, images, and you could do similar for the AI stuff. But we want to go further than that as well, where actually the experience will unfold in an interpretive way based on the AI conversation, so that AI can actually not just respond to your questions and give you feedback, but also kind of affect the outcome of the experience based on your interaction with it.
Right. And you, as a VR consumer, how are you using it personally? Because me, as a forward-looking person, an early adopter, I bought the Oculus Rift some time ago and was giving me headaches, and it wasn't super nice. So, what are you using nowadays actively as a founder, as a CEO in the VR world?
In terms of headsets, I mean, we primarily recommend kind of Quest, the Meta Quest headset as is now the latest version. It's still emergent technology, I would say. That's where, when we're talking about the accessibility earlier to kind of VR and VR content, I think the hardware side and how people experience it, consume it, is still an emergent. Obviously Apple gone down a slightly different route, and I talked about Samsung bringing back the kind of the consumption via your smartphone. So we believe in the scalability of it and lowering the barrier to access, and that ultimately the headset will be simply like a laptop or a means of consuming it. But I think it will improve. I mean, you've got other limitations, are obviously, especially with what we do in the VR video world, are around kind of bandwidth. People's accessibility to stream video, it is possible with reasonable bandwidth, but all those things and resolution, all that is improving exponentially. So I think that will all I think that will all contribute to the continuing adoption, which is happening. I mean, you see Meta now commissioning VR, because we're actually fans of 180 content because it's more narrative based, more story based. You can kind of direct the action a little more, and you see kind of Meta commissioning series in 180. You see, which a lot of YouTube creators who were in the VR space early on like to use the 180 because it was, again, it gives you a bit more control as a director in terms of focusing the action. 360 perhaps better for tour-based experiences, fully immersive ones where you're looking around the full space. But but it's an evolving space. It's not. We definitely still, I would suggest, at the relatively the foothills of what VR will be.
How is your 2024 and how will 2025 be different from last year?
For us, well, we hopefully continue. We've had kind of successful adoption. Our user base doubled in the last 12 months. We'd hope to do that again if we can in the 12 months. So I think we want to grow our user community. We want to really focus on that user community, build that sense of kind of creative dialogue where people can share best practice experiences, try and build that kind of that kind of sense of community and the support we offer for it, sharing best practice and all the rest. I think the AI stuff, I mean, we've been introducing AI features over the last 12 months, but the character types stuff I just mentioned to you, that's new for this year. So I think the AI element, we want to really further enhance that AI kind of design element where it's kind of generating because the way our tool works is very much around, if you've seen interface, you kind of like a design graph for the storyboarding that you can combine the text-based prompt with that kind of graph-based structure, so you can see visually how it would play out. So I'd say AI would continue to be a priority, if not just for this 12 months, probably on an ongoing basis. And I think that what I'd really like to see is that kind of building that community of users, having that a more dynamic user group, who people sharing best practice, all that. That's what we'd like to see.
What advice do you have for starting founders?
I don't know if this is like a simple bit of advice. I would say, if you've got a real strong belief in what you are creating, you kind of, whether it's your product, your service, whatever it might be that you're looking to set up, I think it all ultimately will flow from you. So you need to have that self-belief in what you're doing. So if you've got doubt around that, it's unlikely that other people are going to then buy into it or follow it or believe it if you don't believe it yourself. So I think that kind of foundational belief in what you're doing is significant, that somehow it will benefit or improve the world, make things easier, make things better, whatever problem you're solving, that you believe in the thing that you are creating. So it's going to initially really be driven by your own passion and belief. So I think that's fundamental to the journey you're about to go on. And then from there, I mean, there is this principle of fail fast that has been around for a long time in Silicon Valley. But I think sometimes, you will have to have a bit of resilience, because you are going to get knocked back and you're going to have a lot of people saying no to you early on. So I think if you've got that belief combined with that resilience, then you've got a good foundation. That's not to suggest that you carry on indefinitely in the face of clear evidence that what you're doing no one wants. But I think to get off the starting blocks, that belief combined with the resilience is what you'll need.
Love that. Yeah, the passion as a fuel is underrated nowadays. There's a lot of money first advice there, but it's combining both, right? Because sometimes money will fuel you, some other times passion will. Mike, thanks for coming on today. Where can people find out more about you?
So we'll find out about our company on the website, nearlife.tech. You can find that. I'm on LinkedIn. I speak at various events. I'm be speaking at a kind of a gamification conference later this month. So find me online, connect with me on LinkedIn. I accept most requests. So just interested always to engage with people who are interested in tech, content, this type of area, VR, immersive. That's where I sit. So do get in touch.
That was Mike, Todd, and Charles.